going on, guys? It's Brian here with Texas Gun Experience, and we just got back from our trip to Space Force, and we brought back two really cool options to kind of discuss and go over with you. One being the Springfield Hellion, the other being the IWI Tavor X95. Now, what makes these space guns is, well, they're both bullpups, and they look like they're something out of a sci-fi, or fiction movie. Now, bullpups aren't a new thing. They've been around for over half a century, and there's a good reason. There's a great idea behind the concept of them, and the features and benefits sometimes are greater than what's currently, kind of mainstream and popular. But the downside is, they aren't as common use, and it does take practice and some training to really get good with those. So that aside, we'll kind of compare two really good options here. One being a kind of a industry-proved, military-used rifle in the IWI X95, and then kind of the all new to the US market, the Springfield Hellion. We'll kind of go over, front to back, how they're similar, how they're different, and kind of why they are what they are. Now, these things may look, other than color, pretty much identical to you, but there's not really much similarity they have, other than that they're both bullpups and they both shoot, 5.56. So starting with that, these are both rifles. They are not pistols, they are not short barrel rifles, they are full barrel rifles because they are bullpups, meaning that the barrel is a full 16 inches or greater. So 16 inches on the Hellion, 16.5 on the X95. And that means, the barrel is actually, traveling almost the whole length of the firearm, because you have the firearm control group, or the fire control group, the magazine, everything like that behind the grip itself. So starting in the front here, both 1-in-7 twist, 5.56s, 16.5 inch barrel. So you're gonna get very similar performance out of both of those. Both come with, out of the box, they come with just standard A2 bird cages. On these, we do have suppressor, QD attachment options here. So kind of a wash. Both are, fairly accurate, especially for, kind of like a battle rifle or a combat rifle. In the right hands, you definitely get some good grouping with good ammo, good conditions. Most of these guns will outshoot, most people. So definitely good accuracy out of them, and definitely good power because you are running a full 16-inch barrel. So you're not losing velocity. No, going back to the gas systems, these are both, gas piston operated, but that's where the first big difference is going to come into play. The Tavor does not have an adjustable gas system, meaning it is just what it is. The Hellion actually has two settings for the gas, one being a normal setting and one being a suppressor setting, which works quite well. So that is kind of a one point for the Hellion, is the adjustable gas. Really makes it nice. Again, if you're running it suppressed, you don't get that extra gas or pressure coming through the gun. So the handguards traditionally on bullpups are fairly short. They don't need to be super long because it's not, 14 more inches of barrel in front of you. So the handguns aren't really that long. So with the Hellion here, we actually have 9 spots of M-lock. The Tavor comes stock with a kind of a cool proprietary like Picatinny handguard. On this one, we do have the Manticore Arms rail, so it is a little bit longer. We do get more M-lock on it. So we'll kind of call those a wash, but most bullpups, from out of the box, gonna give you around 9 spots-ish to mount accessories. So most things you'll see on bullpups that aren't in the military, you're gonna have some type of, vertical hand grip, flashlight, maybe you're gonna run some type of aiming laser, like a D-ball or something like that on top. Now, immediately I want to go to kind of the top on these. So stock, both guns do come with backup iron sights. So both are metal, both are kind of hidden out of the way. Now the Hellion here has some nice, push button metal sights that pop up, and they, tuck out of the way flush. The X95 does as well. They actually have some nice sights that integrate into the rails and are hidden and go out of the way. They were changed on this one here, so we do have some aftermarket Magpul Pros on here. So again, kind of a wash there. Both backup sights work plenty well, and they are nice and metal, and they also are flush and go out of the way too when not in use. So the first thing I want to, I guess, talk about as far as the rails go are one thing that the Hellion does a good job is it actually has this raised rail. So this is more in line with a AR platform kind of bore height. So when you get your optic, whether it's a red dot, if you have some type of magnified or powered optic, and you put scope rings on it, you can mount that similar to your AR and get a very similar eye relief and kind of a cheek weld onto the firearm. With the Tavor, you definitely need a much higher riser to it, about 1.93 inches, 2 inches, to get that similar eye relief and height. So again, that's kind of another one for the Springfield Hellion, which I think out of the box makes it a little bit easier. The Tavor is definitely set up for more of those Israeli optics, which those things run a little higher, but we don't really use those here in the States. So getting a taller optic mount is going to be needed if you want that good cheek weld. Both have non-reciprocating charging handles. So the Hellion has a top charging handle here that is ambidextrous. So it kind of swivels to either side. Easy to pull, it does not reciprocate either. So it stays in that position. It's spring loaded to where it goes right back in that kind of that vertical locked position there. On the Tavor, it does have a user interchangeable side charging handle. So set up for a right-handed shooter, I had the charging handle set up on the left-hand side. You can swap it to put on the right-hand side as well. It is side mounted, so depending on the lever you have there, you can get a folding one to where it sits flush, or you can get one that kind of sticks out a little bit. Non-reciprocating as well, so those don't move. So kind of a wash there. So the controls on these are completely different, and they don't really share many of the same aspects, so I'll kind of go one at a time here. So the Hellion has a AR style grip, so meaning any of AR-15 aftermarket grips will actually fit on this, which is pretty nice, gives you a lot of options. It does have that flat kind of trigger shoe there, which is nice, and it does have, again, a traditional kind of like rifle trigger guard here, which is also good too when holding up this rifle, because it gives your middle finger there something kind of rest up against. The safety is ambidextrous as well. It is kind of clunky though. You have to reach really high up to get to engage the safety. I'm sure there's going to be some aftermarket options coming down the pipe for that, but right now it is a little clunky. On the X95, it feels very AR-like as far as the controls goes, but the grips are completely proprietary to their own. So you definitely need, an IWI Tavor grip. So they make either the kind of the famous cutlass design, where you have this big bar in front of the grip here, or they have kind of a standard, grip with the trigger shoe here. This one is an aftermarket option. It's from Three Panthers. So this is kind of like both of them combined. So you have the cutlass and you also have the trigger guard. But the X95 does a good job at having really easy to use AR style safety. So there are options there. They don't have this ambidextrous from the factory. You can get ambidextrous options aftermarket and put them on there, but real simple, just like an AR control, safe and fire. But most importantly is it does have an ambidextrous magazine release. So unlike a lot of bullpups, the mag release is right there above the trigger and easy to use. It's almost in the exact same place as an AR. So that is going to be a big plus side to kind of the manual of arms for the X95 when we get into reloads. And there's a couple other things to help that too. So having the mag release up there is really nice. Sticking with the mag releases on the Hellion, it's actually behind the magazine well here. So that is kind of standard to most bullpups out there. So you do use that non-firing hand to strip the magazine and put the new magazine in, and then the bolt release is right behind that. The bolt release is also behind the magazine on the Tavor as well, but it's a simple push button, which makes it very easy and very quick and also intuitive. So the Hellion has a little, like a pinch, kind of a tab here to release that bolt. Again, I kind of give it to the X95 as far as mag changes overall. the release, the bolt release, everything there is a lot easier to use, a lot quicker to reload on the X95. So adjustment, as far as length of pull and all that stuff, the X95 is what it is. So don't really care how long your arms are, that's what you got. The Hellion does have an adjustable length of pull in the stock. So that is kind of nice. If you have, lurch arms, you're able to, extend that out a little bit. Just give the user a little bit more adjustability. It also has an adjustable cheek rest here too, which has shell deflectors. So that's kind of like the outsides and some of the mechanics of them. Some, I guess, really no similarities, but a lot of differences. But overall, just ownership and then firing of these firearms. So they're both sold as, ambidextrous, but one really is, the other one really isn't, not without buying more things. So the Tavor is marketed as an ambidextrous rifle, but it's really not unless you buy some extra parts for it. So everything on it has the ability to be swapped around, with the exception of the bolt, without buying anything else. So the charging handle, you can move from one side to the other. The safety, you can move from one side to the other or add, an ambidextrous safety. The ejection port, you can close the one side and open the other side, but you would need to buy a left-handed bolt to, operate this as a lefty. So yeah, you could switch everything over to, opposite side controls, but you would need to buy that extra bolt to shoot it as a lefty. The Hellion comes straight out of the box, not needing any of that, which is a big pro, to those left-handed shooters. Because again, a Bullpup, that ejection port is right by your face, so you don't want that thing spitting shells in right in your nose. The Hellion, toolless, you can disassemble it. You can actually change the timing of the bolt to where it's ejecting from the other side. The cheek rest here too does have a really large flare as well. That is a brass deflector. So even if you didn't, so say you're a righty and you hand it to your buddy who's a lefty, they can shoot this thing and get away with it, with that deflector helping keep those rounds out of their face. So the Hellion truly is an ambidextrous, out of the box option for those left and right-handed shooters. The last thing to really discuss is kind of like the triggers on these things. So out of the box, Bullpups don't have great triggers. There's a lot of linkage. The hammer and everything's back here, the trigger's up here, and there's a big transfer bar kind of connecting everything. So most Bullpups have a very mushy trigger. The Tavor X95 did a very good job at kind of eliminating as much of that mush as they could. Was it a competition trigger? No. Was it a good mil-spec AR trigger? Not quite, but it wasn't bad. So compared to some of the prior Bullpup models, the X95 does have a pretty good trigger, but there's a lot of aftermarket options out there. So like this one has the Geisley, trigger shoe and trigger in the rear. So this is like a 3.5 pound single stage trigger. So it's really good now, but out of the box, it's just not that bad. The Hellion, the trigger pull is not heavy on this by any means, but it is very, very long and very spongy. So this is very traditional Bullpup trigger. It's something you can train around and get used to. Again, it's not heavy. It actually has a pretty good reset. So it's tactile and audible. So once you get in that reset, if you're doing short or if you're just kind of riding that trigger, you can actually get quick follow-up shots. But if you're completely letting go of that and pulling it, there is a long kind of a mushy pull to the brake on that. So overall, I think both are excellent options, and I think you'd be very happy with either. The Hellion's new to the US, so there's not a ton of aftermarket support for it. I think in 6 to 12 months, there's going to be a lot of things coming out for that, which we should get excited for. The Tavor is truly a battle-tested design, still in use by militaries today, and there is a ton of aftermarket accessories for this, as you can see on this one. So there's a lot of support for it. There's a lot of parts out there for them, and it is a tried and true system. So there's a lot of good with this one. The Hellion is feature rich. I think, again, if you're new to Bullpups, this is a phenomenal option. I honestly think this thing has a lot more going for it in terms of just features goes, except for the magazine changes on the X95. That's just super easy on this thing. So they did a really good job with that. With this one, you kind of have to change your manual arms a little bit. Your arms, you know, they say from the factory, these both weigh about 8 pounds. The Hellion does feel smaller. It feels more narrow and compact. So it does feel a little bit more wieldy. But overall, I mean, the weight on these things are all kind of centralized right in the middle of the guns. So you feel the weight for sure, but it's not heavy in the fact that it's away from your body. So it's really close to the body. So I think they kind of wash out as far as that goes. The grip options are awesome that you can change those out in the Hellion. The Tavor, I really like the Cutlass. There's plenty of options, you know, just like you see on this one, to where you can kind of get best of both worlds. So yeah, let us know what you guys think in the comments. You know, do you take the tried and true Tavor? Do you like the Hellion? Do you think Bullpups are crap? I know if I was gonna go to the Bug Planet, I'd probably take one of these. But yeah, let us know what you think. We do have these available to demo down at the range as well too. As a part of our full autumn Friday packages as well, we do have a couple of full auto Bullpups as well, like the Steyr AUG. So come check that out. We have tons of cool stuff going on. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and check us out at TexasGunExperience.com. We'll see you guys on the range.